Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are so thrilled to have a special edition of a Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, and broadcast by Mission Fed Credit Union Studios right here in Scripps Ranch. Honored to have in the studio with us Dr. Ruthann Heinrich. She is the board chair for National University. How you doing there, Ruthann?
Just fine, thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, and kudos to you and to the President Mark Milliron, and of course Dr. Nancy Heinrich, who we've been working with for a million years. And National University has just done so many great things in this community, continues to do great things in this community, and we're just so pleased you can come on board with us. How long have you been involved with National University?
I joined the national board in 2010.
2010, okay.
And prior to that, I was on the John F. Kennedy University board before they affiliated with National. I joined that board in 2006.
Nice, nice. Is your background education?
It is not. My background is in business. I'm a CPA by trade, and but always interested in education. A lot of my volunteer work had been done in the community, various education things from boards, site councils, various committees, things like that.
Right. So National University, certainly just an absolutely phenomenal, mission. You folks touch a lot of people, and those tentacles touch those people times 8. I always like to make a point on all of our guests. Yeah, you may, in your case, be addressing this student, but the impact you have on that student is his or her family and all the great things that come with it and so forth. And you folks have been on the top of your game, so innovative just from the get-go. Is that the DNA of National University?
It is the DNA, and I think it just feeds on itself. When you got to where you were because you were innovative, people remember, they say, our first innovation was, using cassette tapes as, our remote learning,
right?
Way back in the day. But, we were a pioneer in online education, and we are just trying to take that steps further now, looking into how can we use AR and VR to help the students to make their journey easier, to prepare them to utilize it out in the workforce.
Yeah, and you folks have always been in the top of your game when it comes to, being out there and with diverse students, diverse populations. Military has been in your soul. I was founded by a military veteran, of course, many moons ago. But it's never left you folks. That diversity is so important, and inclusion. Talk about that.
Absolutely, and that's really another part of our DNA when you mentioned DNA.
Yeah.
We were founded by a Navy veteran for the purpose of serving active duty and vets, and who were working at the time, and there really wasn't a place for them to go. And we've carried that on. We have one board member who said he tells a story. Somebody came up to him from a college and said, "Hey, what do you do to increase diversity? What do you use? Affirmative action, what?" And he said, absolutely nothing. We have access, and people come to us for that very reason. And I think 2/3 of our graduates are diverse, and the same for our student population. We have 50% of our undergraduates are military, either serving vets or dependents. And because we have the flexibility, because we have the access, that's why they come to us.
Yeah, no, and certainly you guys done a great job hanging your hat on that. And again, we're chatting with Dr. Ruthann Heinrich. She is the board chair for National University. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. For 6 decades, been doing great things in our San Diego region and so forth. What do you think, moving forward, some of the significant challenges of the people that you serve? You reach so many people. You've reached so many people for many, many years. What are some of those challenges we see in the future?
A lot of the challenges are just balancing their priorities because they are working, because they're adults, they're working, they're parents, they're caregivers, and they're students. And they just have to balance it all. So that's one of their number one challenges. And we try to meet that by offering a variety of programs, in person, online, hybrid. Now we are looking at VR as a possibility and have instituted in some programs. So we are, our goal is to meet them where they are. And we also have what we're calling now whole human education, to be able to offer help in a number of areas, career, financial, emotional support, and academic support. And some people need different things at different times.
Right. So that's an interesting point. How would that work then? So you have a student here, and student may have some challenges in one of those areas you just mentioned. You'll jump right in and see how you can help in that area?
Yes, first of all, we try to make it known that it's available.
Of
so
course.
You see on the website, whole human education, and
Right.
find out more about this, click here. And that's part of also using technology. One of the ways we want to try and jump ahead so that we have, maybe early warning signs for a professor if somebody is having academic difficulties. Can we help a person if we notice they're struggling before they've said, nope, this isn't for me, sorry, when we have the services there. So we have a lot of people in the organization just aimed at trying to identify where the situation is and get people the help they need. And other times, we just need to get out of the way. We have accelerated programs for students who just want to go fast and get done and get on with their career. So.
Right. Well, one of the things I've known about National University only because I'm 105 years old, so I've known about it for quite a while. But, one of the things you always hear is the relationship between the professor, the instructor, and the student. And you folks take that very, very close to the heart. You don't want to have these students lost in some, hall with 5,000 other students and who the heck are you? Talk about how important that is. That relationship between your instructor, your professors, and the students always has been top shelf.
Absolutely. And we have the classes are probably small, compared to 500, yes.
Right,
small, probably on average, I'd say 15 to 30 is my guess. And, they have discussions. They have, even when it's online and not in person, they keep a feeling of community by having the discussion groups and keeping the dialogue going. There will be office hours are held, even though they aren't going in person to office hours, they're held virtually. And we also have, since we merged with North Central University, we have a one-to-one program where students work even more closely with their professor.
Right. And, we talked about the diversity. You had 6,300 graduates last year. That's quite an impressive number. Equally impressive, many of them are first generation in their family to graduate from college, which is huge in that aspect because you gave them access. What a stunner on that. Talk about how important that is as well.
It's absolutely important, and that's what makes me doing this job so gratifying. That's the payoff moment when you see how proud the students are, how proud their families are. We had one student who I will never forget. He had been a member of a gang. He joined National, got his undergraduate degree, went on to get a master's, was the student of the year, and that's how I met him. He was getting the award. He inspired his wife to get her degree and a master's degree. and honestly brought the room to tears when he talked about the impact on the next generation, on his little 6-year-old daughter, and how different her life is than what his was. So it is absolutely a generational impact.
Well, and we talk about the tentacles. Yes, it impacted his life, which means it impacted his wife's life, and now his little 6-year-old, right? And then everybody that's going to come after that 6-year-old, moving down. And I think sometimes that gets lost on people, that whether the organization's educational institution like yours, or it's a health organization, or pick a topic, you're helping that individual, but it's the tentacles that come from that individual that you're helping as much, and maybe even greater in some ways. We're chatting with Dr. Ruthann Heinrich. She is the board chair for National University. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. I've been doing terrific things in San Diego for more than 60 plus years, always raising the bar in that area. So, you folks are always on your game in many different areas, and technology is one of them. Cyber is very important to you. I've been honored to have on the show a couple of the cyber experts that are on your faculty and teed up by Dr. Rowland, which is great. So that you've always been first and foremost. But talk about AI. I mean, you can't turn around without someone talking about AI in artificial intelligence. You guys are on top of your game on that as well, are you not?
We're sure trying to be.
Right.
We've had the focus has been from the board on. We've had various seminars for the board. We've brought in experts. We are actually having one of our top students. He was a Dissertation of the Year award winner. He will be doing a speaker series with us tonight. And we're really focused on it in a number of the areas that I mentioned before. It can impact how we serve our students, and we need to have programming for them on how to use it in their careers so that they're ready when they leave. And one of our in-house experts has approached it from the standpoint of, while everybody else is sitting around saying, oh, are we going to use it? Are we not going to use it? How are we going to use it? Like, no, it's here. It's coming. Let's put up the guardrails and figure out what we need to do.
Well, listen, and we know that. I think you and I were chatting offline, with Nancy on Classroom of the Future Foundation, an organization that's been near and dear and use, sort of breadth of work ever since CFF started in 1997. We put on summits, thanks to you folks at your Spectrum Center, and we'll be doing one on February 29, and one of the topics is going to be artificial intelligence, going to be led by a former assistant superintendent at San Diego County Office of Education now. He's an assistant sup at Linwood, who's an expert in AI. And this can be great for those folks like you're doing for your students, is that how do we use this? How do the districts use it? How's that going to impact, whether it's in the education field or not in this area? And if you read some of the things going on with AI, it can be pretty daunting and scary, can it not?
Absolutely. But like most things we don't know about, they're daunting and scary until you start uncovering it, peeling back the layers of the onion and finding out, okay, what's the scary part? What do we do about it? And oh, by the way, on the way to the scary part, look at all these marvelous and impactful things that this is doing, and what can it do for students? And since we teach, have so many teachers enrolled in our programs and graduate a number of teachers, how are they going to teach it? How are they going to use it? How can we teach them how to use the tools to help their students? Yeah.
And what we all know about technology and education, as soon as you master it, 55 other things have come by the time you've mastered it, okay? And you got to remaster. But that's the nature of the game, and that's what you guys are very good at.
Yeah, and I think once you take that as a given, then it's okay. It's not like we're going to finish this and then we're done. Then we've got it. We're done. It's definitely an ongoing thing, and so you want to. I think people, our employees, our faculty, are all pretty much on board with, things are going to change. We're going to do this, and things are going to change, and we're going to adapt and try and stay out in front of it.
That's good. And when we come back, Ruthann, let's continue that conversation. Let's talk about your shoulder-to-shoulder work with the military, of course, and you're in the perfect community to do that here in San Diego, the largest military port in the country, if not the world on that. And we always save some time, second half of the interview. What can our listeners do to support your efforts in any area you think of, volunteer, teach, whatever the case may be? So get some thoughts of that when we return with Dr. Ruthann Heinrich. She is the board chair of National University. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of the Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 60 plus years, doing great things in San Diego. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, now the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, broadcasting from the Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed, always on top of its game, also 6+ decades of doing great things in the community. Honored to be chatting with Dr. Ruthann Heinrich. She's the board chair for National University, iconic National University. Had over 6,300 graduates last year, many of them first generation in their family to graduate from college, and has put out more teachers than any university in this probably solar system. I'll go back and say say that as well. We were talking about the military. You were founded by a military captain in 1971, and you continue. 50% of the students are military. That's just so important to you folks. It's important to us in San Diego, the largest military port in the country, and that's just going to continue to grow, is it not?
I think so. We're spreading our wings, and we have now we have the Army involved, and we're getting more students from some of the other branches as we are able to offer. The military is interesting in terms of what they will reimburse. So, but as they are allowing students to take online, we can expand our reach and find ways to help military students.
Yeah, and yes, we all know this. Fortunate enough to go to an event called the San Diego Military Advisory Council. It's once a month, and these guys are a nice bridge between the civilian life and the military, run by a lot of former flag officers, and talk about this all the time. And education is just so critical, of course, to the military as they transition into their next world. In that aspect as well. Do you have a lot of the faculty that are military veterans teaching as well?
We do. I don't know the percentage.
Yeah.
But we are also very interested in helping the military students. There are some legislative things which we have some internal people, trying to spearhead in terms of increasing the amount of veterans benefits that are available for education and active duty benefits, which have been stalled for a really long time.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And we bring this up. We do an interview with the CEO of the San Diego Military Advisory Council all the time when we talk about some of those issues. And it takes universities like yours that are going to work with them shoulder to shoulder on some of these things, which is so critical. One of the things that laser beamed on here in our Spotlight on the Community show, because you can't ignore it, even if you try to, is mental health. We are beyond a crisis situation in this, not just this region, not just this state, this world, in this area. We are falling very short of mental health professionals. That number is continuing to grow. I think it's 8,000 in San Diego, currently soon to be 18,000. Talk about how you folks are involved with mental health.
We're involved in several areas. Our JFK School of Psychology donates over 320,000 hours per year in mental health services all across the country, 43 states. And it's very impactful to their local communities, and it also helps their development as mental health professionals. Yeah,
and it's something I think if you aren't in this world, you're not aware of the crisis we have, in this country. You certainly could read the paper or turn on TV, but then people are really aware of the shortage that we have in mental health professionals. And what you're doing is now bridging that gap. We just had people on talking about, the services they provide to the schools, K-12, with mental health. We know that's been a big issue. Never seen more mental health issues in our kids ever since we were walking upright, I guess. And now that fills the gap in that area. I think it's just absolutely so critical. And, at an interview down the road, I'll probably, gin up your colleague, Nancy Rowland, and bring somebody on that's in that space and talk about that as well.
Absolutely. Dr. Alvin McLean is in the Bay Area. He's the dean of the School of Psychology and very in tune with what they're doing there. And on the other side, we offer the Harmony programs, which are social emotional learning for K through 12 students. And they have touched, I think the number is up to 20 million people in all 50 states, teachers, students, and 88 countries. So we have a lot of concern and a lot of practice in trying to help.
It is so critical. Again, chatting with Dr. Ruthann Heinrich. She's the board chair for National University. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. One of the things that one of the million things we're talking about, what's so cool about NU, is collaboration. You will collaborate with anyone that's going to get to the end result, doing great things in a community, doing great things for students and so forth. That's who you are, and really applaud you being the board chair. Obviously, you can see that's also in your DNA as well. And one of them is working with the community colleges. It is so important. We're very fortunate in California to have one of the top, if not the top, community college systems around. Talk about that relationship.
It is strong and getting stronger. This is actually the highlight of our board meeting. I could have all the answers after Friday, but
you got good answers now.
No, we've got we're bringing in some people from locally this weekend to talk to the board and have a discussion. We've got people in-house who are in charge of outreach. We are working on pathways to just totally smooth the journey for a student from community college into the rest of their education, whatever they decide it may be. And we're also looking to co-locate with community colleges, because now they have a lot of space, and it's one way we can get on the ground to some of our programs. Yeah,
I'm a big fan. I'm a product for the community colleges and also San Diego State, and what they do and the work they do, and the work they do with folks like you is just absolutely game-changing and life-changing as well. What can our listeners do to continue to support the great work that NU does?
Well, there are a couple of things they can do. First of all, we're kicking off a foundation. So, if monetary support is something you can do, we would love to have that kind of support. It supports our students. It supports our programs. Tell your favorite student. Tell your at any stage of their education journey. I read something that millennials think they need a credential or a micro-credential every single year. send them our way. We're teaming with Google on some programs and have a lot of cutting edge programs and a lot of continuing ed. And if you want to change a career, you just want to pick up a credential, we do that too, as well as degrees.
Right. How about working with businesses and to get internships and having your students, now a lot of your students are working, we get that, but some students aren't, I imagine, and having them, hey, listen, the best way to learn is to sit next to somebody who's doing the job. Absolutely.
We have practices in the healthcare field. We pair people up, and as we talked about earlier, psychology, counseling, that type of thing. Teaching, we have people out in the schools.
Sure.
So we have internships in tons of areas.
Right. Well, I'll give a high five. Nancy knows this well. But my daughter is a product of National University. Thank you very much. And she is a 4-5 teacher in the Poway Unified School District. And she speaks very fondly of her learnings at National University. And so I think that's important to say. And as a father of a child, I think it's even more important to say that. It was great. It's a wonderful deal. Any final comments?
Just on that line, my daughter is a student now. So, it's so important. We have lots of employees who are former students, and it's great to see a lot of the deans now have students at National, and we're just going to keep it going.
No, I think that's great. And National University's got a great website. So if there's anything you're interested in, go to the website. You'll be able to navigate that. Interested in getting into teaching, into volunteering, into doing internships, focusing on the new foundation and all that. I encourage that. Thank you for taking so much time. I know you're on a warp speed schedule when you were down here. Thanks for fitting us in the Cloudcast. And maybe somewhere down the road, we'll get you and some of your other colleagues back on.
Well, thank you for fitting me in, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to having a chance to do it again someday. Thank you.
Absolutely. We've been chatting with Dr. Ruthann Heinrich. She's the board chair for National University. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, continuing to raise the bar for many of us folk who live in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.